It happened in seconds. One moment he was laughing, the next he was gone. No warning, no goodbye, just the sound of a carriage, a scream, and then silence. For fans of the Gilded Age, the death of John Adams wasn't just unexpected, it was devastating. A character tied to legacy, secrecy, and one of the most quietly powerful storylines in the entire series, taken out in a flash. But this wasn't just about shock value. His death was a turning point. Because John Adams wasn't just another name in the cast, he was the symbol of something the rest of Manhattan society refused to see. When John first appeared, he seemed like a background character. Polite, well-dressed, the kind of man you'd expect to see making small talk at a garden party. A potential suitor for Marion Brooke, a descendant of President John Adams. That was the surface. But the truth? It ran deeper. Because John wasn't trying to charm Marion, he was living a double life. One shared in secret glances, coded words, and stolen moments with Oscar van Rhijn. Oscar, who lived two lives as well, one crafted for the ballrooms and business deals, the other hidden behind closed doors. Their connection was more than just romance. It was survival. It was the raw, unspoken tension of existing in a world that demanded perfection while punishing truth. While Oscar flirted with heiresses and made plans to marry for wealth, John waited in the background, present but never acknowledged. And slowly, that weight took its toll. Eventually, the pressure cracked them. They split, quietly, without theatrics. But even then, John didn't disappear. He lingered, not as a ghost from Oscar's past, but as a reminder of what authenticity could look like. And by the time season 2 rolled around, John wasn't hiding anymore. When Oscar Wilde arrived in New York, he noticed John almost instantly. But John wasn't drawn in by flattery or fame. He stood firm and said what he never could before, that he was happy with who he was. No apologies, no shame. Oscar, still playing the role, watched from afar. Because while John was growing, Oscar was unraveling. And in season 3, the facade finally began to crack. Oscar's finances collapsed. His image was threatened. The walls he built were closing in. And just when it looked like everything might fall apart, John returned. Not with judgment, not with resentment, but with help. Real help. A check. An opportunity. A lifeline. John didn't ask for anything in return. He wasn't trying to win Oscar back. He just wanted to see him survive. To give him a second chance. And when Maud Beaton, the woman who once swindled Oscar, returned to the scene, everything got even messier. She was no longer the mysterious beauty from the elite circles. She was dancing in a gentleman's club. And despite everything she'd done, Oscar handled it differently. Instead of revenge, he offered her a ticket out of town. $100. And a warning to never come back. That version of Oscar? The one with empathy, control, and a bit of humility? That's the one John admired. And he said it. I like this new version of Oscar van Rhijn. They walked side by side, talked about the future. John promised to bring more investors to help Oscar rebuild. Oscar called him his savior. They laughed, made plans, and then, with one step into the street, it was over. The carriage came out of nowhere. It struck John in front of Oscar. There was no time to react. No heroic moment. Just brutal, sudden impact. And in that instant, the one person who truly saw Oscar, who knew him, who believed in him, was gone. But this wasn't just about losing a character. John's death represented something deeper. He had finally stepped into his truth, into his power, into a life not dictated by fear. And that's when he died. In a world built on pretending, he chose to be real and paid the price. And now, the one who never stopped pretending is the one left behind. Oscar, the master of appearances, is about to face something he can't cover up with charm or money. Grief. Real, raw, unfiltered grief. And that's something no mask can hide. Series creator Julian Fellows said it himself: when a society forces people to live artificial lives, real loss becomes impossible to ignore. Because you can't pretend your way through heartbreak. Clayburn Elder, the actor who played John, spoke openly about how much the role meant to him. As a queer actor portraying a gay man in 1880s New York, it wasn't just acting, it was rewriting history. A reminder that queer people weren't just footnotes. They existed. They loved. They fought for space in a world that never offered it. And John's character gave a face to that forgotten truth. Now, the question is, what happens next? With John gone, Oscar is left in the wreckage. Will he spiral deeper into the performance? Or will this loss finally force him to stop hiding? Will the man who spent his whole life pretending finally break and maybe, finally, become something real? One thing's certain: the Gilded Age just changed. And so did Oscar. Because when the one person who knew the real you disappears, you're left with only one choice: face who you are, or lose yourself completely.